Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, the channel where we go through the good and bad of everything nerdy to make sure you spend your time on the best of the best. In today's video, I'll be talking about games I'm playing right now, so let's get into it. So this is a new segment trying out on the channel. Let me know in the comments below if you guys like this type of video, but I'll be walking through a lot of the games I'm playing and going through right now. You know, typically when I do a full-blown review on a game, I've played through the entire game so I can get a really good perspective on the good things about the game, the things I don't like, and really go into the intricate details for a review on a game. But this video I'll be just talking about a lot of the games I'm playing right now. I maybe haven't fully completed them yet, some of them I have, and just give you my first impressions and initial thoughts on the games. And then we can definitely chat about games you're playing right now in the comments below as well. So the first game on the list is Luigi's Mansion. And so kind of going for a Halloween theme in this video, or at least that's a lot of the games I've been playing right now. And this was actually one of the games on the GameCube I never owned and hadn't played. And so it's kind of surprising because I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan, and that's basically what this game is very similar to. And so in this game you play through as Luigi and you get this Poltergust 3000, which is like a backpack vacuum similar to like a proton pack from the Ghostbusters, and you go through this mansion trying to capture ghosts, accumulate treasure, and save Mario, who's been captured by the ghosts in this mansion. And so it again has a spooky theme. You're going through using your Poltergust 3000 to find treasure, unlock puzzles, and again rescue Mario. And so you'll go through different rooms in the mansion and uncover ghosts, and each of these ghosts typically have some type of puzzle mechanic associated with it, whether it be lighting candles, using water to grow plants, or freezing ghosts and more, on top of your regular Poltergust 3000 abilities. And again, as you go through the mansion and defeat and capture ghosts, you'll unlock new keys, which allows you to explore more of the mansion and unlock new abilities and gain new treasure. And so far, I really enjoyed this game. We're probably about 3 to 4 hours into it so far. And I really like the aspect that you are able to unlock upgrades and new abilities for your Poltergust 3000. And I think it's also pretty fun and quirky where your map is a Game Boy Horror. And so it's similar to like a Game Boy Color. And I think there's a lot of elements, again, similar to Ghostbusters, but also Resident Evil, where you try and unlock new doors and you'll reach out and use your hand to try and open it. And it's definitely a lot of fun. Again, not super scary because it's Mario and Luigi, but if you want a lighthearted horror game with great puzzle elements that's similar to Ghostbusters, I recommend checking out this game. Now, speaking of Ghostbusters, another game I'm playing right now is Ghostbusters, the video game for Xbox 360. Now, I know they have a remastered version of this game as well, so if you want to pick it up on modern systems, you could do that. But I have the classic original version, so that's the one I'm playing through right now. And again, the storyline isn't really any different. There's not really any extra bonuses that I know of in the HD remastered version. So if you want to check out this game, basically pick it up in whichever format you have. But again, in this game, it's kind of almost like the third Ghostbusters movie that never happened. They bring all the original characters and cast from the first couple of movies into this game, and it's an original storyline. And one thing that I really like about this game as well is that it does tie into the first two in their storylines, which really make it feel like what Ghostbusters 3 would have been. And so I'm definitely super pumped for Ghostbusters Afterlife coming out soon. So I wanted to go through this game and really experience it again. It's one of my favorite video games, not to mention I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan, so pretty much anything Ghostbusters I'm going to be all about. But this one was a lot of fun, and it really plays like you are a Ghostbuster. You unlock different upgrades for the proton packs, you weaken ghosts and capture them, you destroy all kinds of property and more. And again, the storyline and really humor of the original movies are in this game as well, because a lot of the actors are directly from the movies. And it's also written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, who helped write the original Ghostbusters films. And so this game is a blast whether you play the original on the Xbox 360 or you pick up one of the remastered versions. I think it's a great game and highly recommend checking it out. The next game on the list is Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth. And so this is actually a remake from a Game Boy game, which is one of the early Castlevania games in the series. And that Game Boy version is fun, but it's also incredibly challenging, but it's definitely limited by the hardware it's playing on. And so Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth is a total remake of this game that originally came out on Nintendo Wii. And you actually had to buy it exclusively on the Wii eShop, which isn't really a thing you can access anymore. So if you do want to play this game, you pretty much have to resort to emulation to be able to find it. But so far playing it, I really enjoy it. It's really a totally different game. It obviously has some elements like the original Castlevania adventure. For example, you can power up the whip to a point where you unlock a flame ability where you shoot out a fireball from your whip, but it's a limited time resource in this game, where in the original you had it as long as you didn't get hit, and then your weapon would be downgraded every time you get hit. Thankfully, that isn't an element in this game, where that was definitely a challenging aspect of the original. But another thing they did bring over was the different branching paths as you play through the game. And so that's really cool. There's a bunch of different routes you can go. I think that really improves the replay experience of the game. But then also they introduce all kinds of new bosses in the game as well. So there's different mini bosses as well as main bosses that were never a part of the original game. And so far I'm having a lot of fun with it. And so if you can get your hands on this game, I recommend checking it out and playing it. Alright, so the next game on the list is The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD for Nintendo Switch. Now this is a Zelda game I actually didn't have originally on the Wii. I got Twilight Princess, the first Zelda game on the Wii, at launch. Actually camped out in front of Target to be able to get the system on day one, and that was the first game I played on the system, and it was a blast. Unfortunately, with this game, it implemented a new Wiimote Plus, which was kind of a upgrade to the motion controls, but you had to purchase a separate new controller unless you got one of the later models that had this element built into it. And of course, me getting the system at launch, I definitely did not have one of the brand new controllers, and so it really made it a game that was going to be about $100 just to be able to buy, because not only did I have to buy the new game, I also had to buy the brand new controller as well. So it was one of the Zelda games I passed on until this new HD remake. And so I've been wanting to play it for a long time. I was excited that they finally brought it out to Switch. On top of that, I don't necessarily mind motion controls, but I really felt like on the Wii, a lot of the games just really forced it into the game where it wasn't really necessary. And personally, I really like just traditional Zelda games where you can use a controller, like the Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Breath of the Wild, and any of the old Zelda games as well. And so again, I was a little bit hesitant about this game because I knew it had a heavy focus on the motion controls, but at the same time, I knew that they did allow for a full control experience with just a Pro controller if you wanted to go that route. And so for the most part, that's how I've been playing the game. And overall, I really enjoy it so far. The puzzles are incredibly challenging. The storyline is definitely fun so far. Probably about 10 or 15 hours into the game. For the most part, the controls are pretty good. I think some of the combat aspects are a little frustrating as you're trying to use the second joystick to flick in specific directions depending on how you want to swing your sword. And again, I wish it just had the element of I could just push the button and use the sword like other Zelda games. Again, it's a cool mechanic, but at this point I feel it's kind of gimmicky. But it does interact with some of the different puzzles of the game, so that's definitely fine. It's just not necessarily my favorite part. Also, a lot of the dungeons are incredibly long. There's one dungeon I was playing through. It took about an hour and a half to 2 hours just to get through the dungeon. And so if you're used to playing Breath of the Wild where you're maybe 10-15 minutes in a dungeon in and out, expect to play a long time in the various dungeons to unlock all the puzzles and get through all the challenges. And again, it's more of an old school Zelda game with little elements of the newer ones thrown into it. So definitely don't expect an open world Breath of the Wild experience. It's more of a traditional dungeon crawling Legend of Zelda experience in this game. But I like it so far, and I'm excited to play the rest of the game, and definitely stay tuned for a future review once I've had a chance to beat the game. Alright, the next game on the list is a upcoming Kickstarter board game, Hair of the Dog. And so this is a pretty cool concept where you're playing in a brewery and your goal is to pet as many dogs as you can. And so initially you'll go through and you have drink tokens that allow you to take so many actions, whether it be moving about the bar, petting a dog, gathering treats and toys, or investigating what dogs might be looking for, and more. And so the gameplay is pretty fun. Like I said, you're moving around trying to pet different dogs, and then as you pet a specific dog, it becomes more challenging to pet them for other players in the future. So the dogs might want to have a treat, or they might want to be in a specific location, or maybe they're looking for a specific toy before they allow someone to pet them moving forward. And so it's a fun competitive game, and I recommend checking it out if you like dogs, if you like board games. It's on Kickstarter right now, and there'll be a link in the description below where you can check it out if you want. So the next game on the list is Pokemon Emerald, but I'm doing what's called a Nuzlocke. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Definitely let me know in the comments below. So basically what this is, it's a more challenging version of playing through the game where you experience permadeath if any of your Pokemon die. But on top of that, as you're going through, you have to capture the first Pokemon you encounter, unless it happens to be one you already have. And if you happen to kill that Pokemon or make it faint when you're battling it, you don't get to catch any more Pokemon in that area. Now there's a lot of other rules that you can implement making it more challenging. Since this is my first time doing a Nuzlocke, I'm not making it too intense, but I think it adds a lot of fun to the game and allows you to use maybe Pokemon that you never would have used in your normal playthrough. Also the fact that if a Pokemon faints, it's gone forever, definitely makes the game a lot more challenging, and you really need to use a little bit more strategy with using your team and battling for gym badges and trainers. But once I've actually completed the challenge, maybe even take on another one, I think I'll do a review on what I think about and my experience of going through this Pokemon Nuzlocke style. But if you've played Pokemon this way before, let me know in the comments below. If you have any tips, let me know those as well. If you'd like to see a full video on a gameplay challenge like this, let me know in the comments below as well. Alright, the next game on the list is Disney's Villainous. And so this is a board game where you take on the role of various different Disney villains to try and carry out their evil plan. And so you play as various villains with other players, and your goal is to accomplish their evil plans that were laid out in the various Disney movies that they happen to be in. And so for me, I'm not the biggest Disney fan. I definitely watched the movies growing up. I really haven't watched many of the newer Disney movies, besides maybe the other properties they own now like Star Wars and Marvel. But the specific Disney movies, I really haven't watched many of them in a long time. But I do have fond memories of some of the movies I did watch growing up. And so in this game, you take on the role of different villains like Jafar, Ursula, and other classic Disney villains. And you'll have a deck of cards where you're trying to move around the map and accomplish different goals for that villain. And so I think if you're a super fan of Disney, you're definitely going to enjoy this game, but I'm not necessarily sure how I feel about the overall replay value of the game. We played it through a couple of times, but I kind of get the feeling like once you know how the villain works and you're done playing out that story of the villain, I'm not sure how much enjoyment you're going to get playing it over and over again. I think it's a cool experience to play through, but I don't know if it's necessarily one I would want to play again and again, unless I was a really hardcore Disney fan. But I definitely want to play the game a bit more to fully experience it and see what I think at that point. But it could be a game worth checking out if you like Disney, if you're a fan of the various villains, and if you wanted to experience what it would be like if the villains won in your favorite Disney movies. Alright, another game on the list is Jumanji, and so this is a board game based on the Jumanji movie. My girlfriend got this as a present recently, and we played through it a few times. And if you're not familiar with the movie, it's basically players are playing this board game, but events from the game start to come to life in the real world. So be it an animal attack, a stampede, a monsoon, a crazy hunter, and more, come to life and try and kill the players before they can finish the game. And your goal is to finish the game to basically set the world back to normal. And so the game itself is not super complicated. You're basically just rolling dice and moving your pieces, and when you land on a specific spot, you read a challenge card that again could be an animal attack, it could be getting stuck in the jungle, whatever the case might be. And so as you're moving along, you'll roll different dice to try and get past the challenge, and your goal is to get to the middle first and call it Jumanji to be the winner. And if you can't get past the challenge, it gets added to a total of failed challenges, and if that reaches a certain point, you lose the game and you have to play the game over again. And so it definitely felt like the movie playing through. I guess the board game didn't come to life when we played, but it's a fun family adventure and could be worth checking out if you're able to find it at a thrift store or somewhere online. Alright, so the final game I'm playing right now is God of War. And this is actually the first time I played a game in the series, so I didn't necessarily know what to expect going into it. But so far, I'm completely blown away playing this game. I've had a blast so far. It's an action-adventure game. It really reminds me of games like the newest Tomb Raider games that are out, or maybe like Uncharted, different things like that, where you're going through, you're playing as Kratos and his son, and Kratos is basically a demigod that has incredible strength, and you and your son are going to scatter your wife's ashes on the top of a mountain. And you face all kinds of challenges as you climb this mountain, facing various gods, monsters, puzzles, challenges, and more. And so the graphics are amazing. There's a lot of different movie cutscenes, but you're also kind of playing through the movie at the same time. And it's a crazy awesome experience. It has a ton of RPG elements as well. where you can level up, learn different abilities, improve your weapons, upgrade your armor, and more. So I'm having a blast so far. I'm really only about 10 hours into it, so I know there's a lot more to experience. So definitely stay tuned for a full review of God of War once I've finished the game and have my final thoughts on it. But let me know in the comments below if you guys have played any of these games, what you think about them, if you've had a blast playing them, if there's other great games I should check out. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know some of the games you're playing right now as well. I'd love to be able to chat with you more in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button as it really helps out the channel. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out. And if you'd like to help us support the channel, pick out content and more, become a patron of ours at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Patreon. And if you'd like to plug into our live streams and Let's Plays we do on the channel, you can follow us on Twitch at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Twitch. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.